Good afternoon or good morning if you're listening in from Hong Kong, and welcome to another ASCII webinar. Today we have a live webinar with James Hargraves, the Business Development Director at Adjuno, and Mark Henderson, the Senior Platform Manager at Adjuno. The topic of this webinar will be on bridging the gap between potential and reality using predictive analytics. At the end of this webinar, James and Mark will be taking questions. If you have a question at any point throughout this webinar, please type it in the white chat box on the side and we will address it at the end. I will now pass you on to James for the start of the Adjuno presentation.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to everybody joining. Today, we're going to give you an overview to how we're starting to use predictive analytics to help manage and monitor supply chains. We're going to give you a brief introduction to Adjuno and explain who we are and what we do. We'll give you an introduction to what predictive analytics is, what value it brings to customers, and we'll try and show some real-life examples that we're deploying at the moment for our customers. There should be some takeaways at the end of the presentation, and as we said before, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat panel and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. So we just thought we would position ourselves and give you a bit of an understanding of who Adjuno is, as some of you may not be aware of us. So we're part of the Allport Cargo Services Group. It's a global logistics and supply chain management group with a turnover of more than $1 billion US. We've been providing web-based and cloud-based supply chain and sourcing solutions to our customers for more than 20 years. We were one of the market leaders in deploying a purchase order management solution, which started in the early 1990s with Marks and Spencer's in the UK. Since then, we've deployed our solutions all across the world to a number of retailers spanning Australia, New Zealand, Asia Pacific, South Africa, Europe, especially from the UK, and we also have a couple of clients now in the US market. Overall, we have more than 150 retailers, brands, and manufacturers using our solutions, more than 15,000 users logging on every month, and an enormous number of processes being tracked through our systems. Our solutions can be used out of the box, so we have a standard template solution which can be used as is. And we have a very modular solution, which means that we can use different elements of our end-to-end solution and package them together for our customers. It's configurable in the sense that we can change certain aspects of the customer solution without it affecting the overall upgrade path of our platform. And we hope to provide a very fast return on investment. The one down the end on the right-hand side there is what we'll be talking about today. So predictive analytics is the new focus of our organization for 2018. We're putting a lot of time and effort into researching how we can use machine learning and predictive analytics and automation into our solutions. So we've recently moved our platforms to the Microsoft Azure cloud platform. And as part of that, we've been engaging with Microsoft at looking at how we can use the new features and functionalities within our solution. So Microsoft is investing a huge amount of money into researching machine learning and analytics, and they've been very kind enough to partner with us and help us look at how we can use this specifically for the supply chain and sourcing industry. And we'll give you some examples. So Mark Henderson, who's has been spending a lot of time working with that team and with our solution to look at how we can deploy predictive analytics for our clients. Just to give you an understanding of the solution that we cover. So on the left-hand side there in blue, looking at product concept and product sourcing, from tracking an item when it's first planned to be bought by the planning and merchandise team, and we track it across a number of milestones from sourcing, creating a purchase order and tracking the confirmation of that, production of the order, shipment, delivery, And there's a couple of modules we've developed around cash as well, specifically looking at online invoicing, online invoice reconciliation, tracking active landed costs throughout the solution. And we've also information provided right back through the supply chain up to the supplier to help with things like vendor managed inventory and some smarter solutions around that. So everything is within one cloud platform. So everything you see within that scope of service there can be deployed in a single solution, from really the concept of the item through to delivery. So what that's enabling us to do is to collect a whole range of information from our clients. So we're collecting everything from first touch point of an item through to delivery, and enabling us to pull a huge amount of information about each of our customers in their solutions. To give you an understanding, so go to the next. So to give you an understanding of how that fits together, we have some of the upstream and PLM events at the top in blue there, where we're tracking things like supplier onboarding, auditing of factories, both the technical audit and an ethical audit, managing vendors, briefing, quoting, sampling and testing, and things like that. So the yellow dots there is the start of our supply chain management solution, is where our customers are raising a purchase order. We're tracking the confirmation of those, the production of raw materials, the starting of production, right through to the red dots, which are the origin logistics events, where we're creating shipment bookings, sending those to carriers, receiving confirmation back from carriers, tracking the loading of the container with the product, delivery of it to the export terminal, and also the departure of the vessel. Now, over on the left-hand side there in blue, we have some of the downstream events where we're tracking arrival into destination, any transshipment, arrival, releasing containers, delivery of those containers, and a couple of events that we've created around replenishment planning and stock control. So again, what this diagram is trying to illustrate is all the range of different events that we can be tracking against each of very detailed information about every step along the supply chain process. We track that against a timeline, which is measured on the inside there, just to track, scheduled versus actual. And this diagram just illustrates, we're really providing a control tower solution where we're collecting within the supply chain from suppliers, multiple freight forwarders, all the warehouses that you may be using, every carrier, both air freight and sea freight. We're trying to link at the moment with financial intermediaries like banks so that we can track once payments been released and collect all of that information too. So we're able to build up a huge range of KPIs and a huge range of data on each of our customers. Now, that's going to be very useful later on when we're explaining how we're using across every single one of these partners that we're connecting with. So when we're collecting this information, we're storing that up, and then we're able to predict that later on. To give you an understanding of the different customers that we're working with, predominantly, so our organization is split into two sections. We have a UK organization, which is managing our clients from UK, Europe, and America. We also have our team in Hong Kong and Australia that manage Australia, New Zealand, and South African customers. So the majority of our customers that we work with are retailers. We also have a number of brands, manufacturers, and even companies from building, where we've taken our concept of tracking events and critical paths and collecting information and applied that to other industries as well. We really aim to add value to the organizations that we work with, whether that's looking at different ways of profitability by making sure that product arrives at the right time in the right place, so we're not having to do things like markdowns and clearance, increasing sales and availability of product by ensuring that it's in the right place at the right time, and that customers are getting access value drivers is really focusing on inventory and making sure that we have a lean supply chain and we're not holding too much stock in any location. So monitoring lead times, managing individual performance of all of the partners within the supply chain, we're able to look at reducing the amount of inventory, which should have a real value to the organizations we work with. Reducing logistics spend as well, so looking at and making sure we're not having containers sitting in demurrage, by making sure that the routes are optimized, all of the carriers are performing as they should be, and working with our partners to make sure that we're optimized. So just wanted the final slide of the introduction before we move on to the predictive analytics side is just to give you an understanding again of the overall events that we'd be tracking for our customers. So right from setting up suppliers through to all of the different events that you'll be seeing here. Underneath all of that, we have our reporting, predictive analytics, and business intelligence layer that's collecting and pooling all of that data. So really, this whole solution is about making sure that we're getting the access to the data at the right time. Things are being updated by all of the participants in your supply chain, and then using some of the latest technology and business intelligence and reporting to be able to present that in a way that is adding value to our customers.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'd like to briefly take you through how Adjuno are currently using predictive analytics, and how predictive analytics can also be used in the supply chain today. So at Adjuno, our philosophy around predictive analytics is we try to focus on what we call the 3 A's. So first of all, we have accumulation. Organizations today are typically sitting on huge volumes of data. So how can we make that data work for them, for our customers? So we look to accumulate all of that data and gather it together. We then move on to anticipating what to do. How can we do analysis and forecasting with that data that we have? We can do predictive modeling, data mining, and machine learning. So with data modeling, we build and refine data models over time, improving those data models as we go along so that they can help us to make future predictions and improve the decision-making process. We then move on to actually taking action. So with action, we're looking at future events and opportunities. What are the opportunities to improve the value? How can we do things differently? Perhaps might lead to better outcomes. How can we do things more efficiently, and how can we reduce cost? Using predictive analytics with the supply chain. So some scenarios of how we might apply that. We could look at lead times for product development. We might consider when the shipment authorization will happen. How can we predict what that date will look like? Also, the delivery into the DC. How can we better predict when that will happen so that we can understand and have better visibility of the stock movement, understand where it is and where it will likely be at any point in time along the supply chain? What will the landed cost be? Financial planning decisions. And what alternative country of origin could be used? So taking a different scenario and mapping that out, how can we predict what the outcome will be? So the value to customers is that we can essentially look at cost reduction, speed to market, less markdowns, and on-time delivery. Overall, end-to-end, better visibility, better efficiency, and better planning leads to better decision-making. How have we used it? So again, going back to our 3 A's, accumulation, gathering that data, large volumes of year-on-year data that we have time series shipment data. We're leveraging our Microsoft Azure cloud platform to mine that data. So in anticipation, we're doing analysis and forecasting, data modeling, and we take action. So we build intelligence into our solutions to use that data to make the predictions and to make automatic decision making. We present our data back to our customers using our business intelligence platform. And we repeat these 3 A's across multiple customers. So we're building standard data models that we can easily reapply to any new customers. Here's an example of our business intelligence platform and how we build predictive analytics into it. So here we're taking huge volumes of year-on-year estimated versus actual shipment information for all of our suppliers. We can drill down into the supplier information and then look at forecasting of what the actual ship date will look like. So for predicting delivered in full on time, we can take our time series data across the multiple years, look at how that supplier has performed, and then forecast by applying an exponential smoothing algorithm to show the percentage likelihood of what the outcome will be and what the actual ship date is likely to be for that supplier. Another use of predictive analytics and applying that to our business intelligence platform is how we can predict carrier space forecasting. But we'll use data on carrier volumes and we'll combine that data with all of the shipment information that we have for our customers, and so we can understand whether we have undercapacity or indeed overcapacity at any point in the future. This obviously then allows our customers to better plan ahead to make the most efficient use of the carrier volumes that are available to them. So some key takeaways. Adjuno, as I say, we focus on the 3 A's of predictive analytics: accumulation, anticipation, and action. That action could be automated through machine learning, the data modeling that we apply, or indeed it could be simply to better inform the decisions that would ultimately be taken by the human. It can be provided with the information and given multiple scenarios, and then it would be for them to choose which is the outcome that they wish to apply. How can we make better use of the historical data to make the proactive decisions rather than simply reacting to what the likely outcome will be? How can we understand how events along the supply chain can impact that end-to-end process? And can we predict what the outcome will be should any unexpected events occur? We can look to reduce costs by improving efficiency through better decision making. And ultimately, that use of the 3 A's and predictive analytics within our solutions will help to provide our customers with a competitive advantage. We now welcome your questions. Thank you for listening.
So one question that has come through: what statistical predictive models are built in?
Okay, yeah, so I will take that one. So we use our Microsoft Azure platform to actually build those data models. So what we try to focus on initially is just one scenario that will add value. You know, what is a problem that needs to be solved in the supply chain today? So to take that simple example that we looked at of supplier performance and the ability to actually deliver on time and in full, we simply map out what that model needs to look like in terms of what data sources need to feed into that model. We then draw that model up in the Azure platform, and that could be a simple flowchart design that takes the various branchings of what decisions need to be followed based on whatever outcome is found along the end to end. And then what happens is that model runs in the background through a period of time, typically over several months, as that model consumes more and more data and becomes more and more accurate at actually predicting what the actual outcome was. Obviously, through that period of time, you need to be doing some sort of comparison what the answer was from the data model versus what the actual outcome was, so you can understand exactly how accurate that data model is. And obviously you look to then tweak that data model going forward so that it can continue to be more and more accurate each time.
Great. So our next question that's come through is, supply chain today is affected by variable geopolitical and economic events. The Adjuno platform seems to rely on the data captured internal data sources. How can the prediction be effective if it is based on limited data?
That is a good question. So we also look to mine from external third-party data sources as well. So take, for example, we don't just rely upon information from our customers and from the various parties along the supply chain. We also take into account weather information. We have, through the use of data feeds APIs, we can pull in information on the weather, and obviously that would then potentially be leading to unexpected delay in delivery or unexpected delay in shipment. But we also have other events that can happen, such as like port congestion, port disruption. And again, we can look to get that information fed in from external third-party data sources. So we have to combine those third-party data sources with the actual data that we already sit on as an organization, and bring those two together in order to produce our predictive analytical modeling.
So our next question is, do you incorporate demand analytics?
Sorry, please repeat that question.
Do you incorporate demand analytics?
Sorry, I don't understand that question. Can we take that one offline?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So we have another one that says, can the users of the Adjuno platform develop their own models, or are they reliant on the pre-configured solutions?
So we have some pre-configured solutions that, as I mentioned during the presentation, we roll out as standard data models to all of our customers. But given that the powerful point of difference with our solutions is that we can tailor them to individual customers. And of course, we also look to try and use bespoke models when necessary to fit in with what the requirements of our customers are. So yes, very much we can use our relationships with our customers and the knowledge that we have of their data and their processes to build models that are more specific to them and more relevant to them, and offer better value to them as an individual customer.
Great, and we have another question that came through. How is Adjuno different from other analytic tools such as SAS and SAP and other solutions?
Well, we partner very closely with Microsoft. We work closely with them to understand how best to use the Azure platform as it is today, but also to understand the opportunities in the future in terms of where their R&D spend is going on predictive analytics, and how, as Adjuno, we might leverage that future capability. So how we set ourselves apart really is to combine predictive analytics through the power of Microsoft with our very competitive core solution that is obviously, as you can see from our customer base, a widely respected solution in the marketplace. So we believe that combination will offer best value to customers.
Great. So our next one is, can the users build the models, not the developers?
So I think I just answered that in the previous question. Certainly at the moment, the modeling that we do as part of predictive analytics is all done by ourselves. As I said, we obviously can build data models for individual customers. Data modeling, giving that to the customers in the future is obviously something that we're looking to perhaps introduce.
Great. So how do you demonstrate cost reductions for clients? Are there any cost benchmarks available in Adjuno?
So we can compare the actual outcomes that have been arrived at by the predictive analytics, and we can compare that with historical data across the same, to come back to that previous example, across that supplier base. We can compare the historical outcomes, how that supplier has performed, and what the landed cost has been, historically, versus what the predictive analytics informed, overall end cost has been. So, by comparing the two, that gives you a very, easy way to evaluate how efficient and how effective the predictive analytics part of the solution is.
And essentially, we're also collecting landed cost information right the way through the supply chain. So we're able to collect what the cost is. We know the cost for different carriers, different options throughout our whole solution. So predictive analytics is also about us providing a best case outcome at right time or right cost type of scenario to the clients to make better informed decisions.
Great. So our next question is, what predictive analytics is used to reduce inventory?
So, good question. The way that we're using predictive analytics to really affect inventory, there's a couple of different ways. The first one is by making sure that we never have more capacity on the water and in the destination than the DCs can handle. So, we're really monitoring to make sure that there's no buildup of inventory at any point along a supply chain. We also are using predictive analytics to forecast future performance of supply chain partners, which means that, if there's any trends or if there's any, if the data models are showing us that any partner is going to be, the performance of them is slowing down inventory moving through a supply chain, we can use that information to create a more stable end-to-end lead time, which overall has a benefit on the amount of inventory being stored at destination. So you're having to hold, but also confident that your lead time is accurate across your entire product portfolio.
So our next question is, please indicate licensing fees for the solution, and how much does this cost annually?
Like I said, we have a modular solution, so the cost depends on the amount of functionalities and the modules that are purchased. So there isn't a single cost that we can provide you. But if you're interested, please contact us after the webinar, and we'd be more than happy to reach out and speak to you about what exactly you're looking for and how we can package something together, including predictive analytics for you.
So our next question is, how is Adjuno's software implemented? What is a typical rollout?
Again, that also depends on the functionalities we're deploying. If it's just standard order management and tracking, an implementation could be 2 to 3 months and relatively straightforward. If we're looking at implementing a full PLM solution, it can be a little bit more complex than that. So any implementation is tailored based on the number of modules and the complexity of the solution. finding out more about how we implement our solutions, please reach out to us after the webinar and we'll be more than happy to discuss that with regards to your specific case.
Perfect. So if you have any more questions, you can just email them through or call. I'll just go back to the contact screen now for you so you can see that. So if you have anything further you want to discuss with ASCII or Adjuno, I have our contact details on the screen. Also, please note that we'll be sending a follow-up email straight after this webinar with a survey to ask how you think this event went, any feedback that you have. And also included in that will be an infographic on the predictive analytics that were discussed here today by Adjuno. The last thing in that email that we will include is ASCII is currently benchmarking the state of the supply chain management to see where the industry is currently at. This survey will be sent out to you and it'll take about 15 minutes to complete. If you do participate in this survey, you will get a copy of the results as well. So thank you for listening, and please send through any questions you have to those emails on the screen, and we'll see you at our next webinar.